Prioritize CRA activities. Very important.
Considering the fact that each study is going to be different. And
Each study is different.
Yeah, and each one would require a different level of attention or detail and time especially.
That's right.
So,
okay. So.
And I think my concern is I want to make sure, say, let me tell you how my brain works and the kind of person that I am. I'm very organized, so I like to do things A, B, C, D, not A, D, then look for C here. So you see, when I'm going through this, right, I'm doing this by going screening, I check for everything.
Yeah.
But if I was the coordinator, I would arrange this in this order. So that when the CRA comes in, they go page by page instead of going everywhere and it's all scattered.
Right.
I mean, people work differently, but that's how I work best.
Sure.
And I don't know anybody who would complain if things were in that order. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
that's
why.
good.
Because if I start with this and I check for vital signs, I see, oh, it's there. I see exclusion and inclusion, ICF, and then the next one is 12 lead EGC, and I might forget to go back to examination without taking it off. You know what I mean? So, and if it's not there, then I haven't done my job properly because I haven't noticed it because I missed it because of the order in which you.
So so you basically you can simplify it. We need to deconstruct everything. Okay. So site selection visit, then you have site initiation visit, then you have a whole bunch of IMVs.
What did I do with my pen? I had it a second ago. Oh, there you are.
And then you have a closeout visit. Okay. These are the only things as a CRA you're going to be doing on site.
Yep.
When you're off site, you're going to be doing like query management, action item follow-up, but all the real work is done at these on-sites, right?
Yeah.
So, how to prioritize. So here's the thing. Each of these reports, they're all pretty much the same, but they emphasize different things. Like the site selection visit emphasizes site capabilities. Enrollment projections. Experience of the staff. And a tour of the facilities, including the IP room or pharmacy. The monitoring space.
They have a lab.
Yep. Lab space. Certificate calibrations for the lab. Right. Calibrations. Informed consent SOP.
So who writes the SOP for the site?
The site.
The site does, okay.
Yeah.
It's up to them to decide if it's a combination of the PI and whoever.
You can ask them their SOP. So typically at the site selection visit, you're going to ask for the informed consent SOP.
Okay.
You can ask for the entire SOP, but it's not common. It's informed consent SOP. Okay. Now here's where it's situationally dependent on the study. Whatever the study emphasizes, if it's let's say it's an Alzheimer's study, like this one, you're gonna and there's an assessment for an MRI procedure or a CAT scan, which are typical. You now have to go visit that as well, okay? But that's study specific. If it were, it'd be totally different if it's a different indication. And like for example, oncology, you would be looking at you would be looking at or you'd be asking them about their SOPs for how they report SAEs and whatever emphasis is placed on that indication. Because SAEs are very common in oncology. So you're going to ask for what's the SOPs for an SAE, what's the dosing schedule per your site's SOPs for different drugs, rescue medications, right? But you're not always asking that. That's where it gets confusing.
Yeah.
But for the most of the time, this is what you do at the site selection visit, right? You discuss the site capabilities, enrollment projections, experience of all staff, then you tour the facility, the IP, where is it stored, the pharmacy.
That's part of the tour.
Yep. Where's the monitor going to work? Where are the documents, the source documents? Where are source and regulatory going to be kept? They need to be double locked, right? Restricted access. These are the things you do at the site selection visit. And then your report will reflect these things. So if you only have 3 hours at the site, and you've already wasted an hour and a half chatting with the coordinator, but you didn't get any of this down, you better get to work, right? Because the report's not going to write itself. And if you go home and leave the site and forget to get some of these things, you have to call the coordinator and ask them questions. Oftentimes CRAs do, they'll email the coordinator later. If I have any more questions, I'm going to email you.
The best to do it if you can right there and then.
Of course, yeah. But you'll miss things. You'll miss things. I mean, every study has, like I said, with oncology, with Alzheimer's, they all have different intricacies. And so you may forget to ask a particular MRI vendor, like what kind of equipment is the MRI machine? Like very technical details. You're not necessarily going to get that right away. You may have to ask the coordinator to email you those informations. But this is, if you do this, the site selection visits are easy. Okay. SIV, totally different. I can summarize SIV with one word. Training. That's literally all you're there for. The close seconds, or the distant seconds, I should say, the distant everything else after training is making sure lab kits are there, making sure the study drug has been received and is being stored properly, making sure that the source documents have been created, EDC access for all pertinent staff, IWRS access for all pertinent staff, make sure everyone has their GCPs filed, make sure the regulatory binder is in good order, and make sure, really what you're making sure is, can the site be activated or not?
Are they ready to go?
Yes, site activation. And if they're not, if they're ready, make sure they're ready. And if they're not, why not? And those become action items. Action items. Okay? That's SIV. IMV, every IMV is going to be different even for the same study. Alright? Because you're reacting to what is actually occurring at that site. So your third IMV at a particular site might be very different than your third IMV at another site for the same study.
For the same study, yeah.
Because maybe one site already had protocol deviations. Maybe one site hasn't been enrolling. Maybe one site has added new investigators or sub-investigators or new staff. Maybe one site has SAEs that need follow-up. Based on these things, you're going to know where to place your emphasis. But you always have to do SDV and SDR and regulatory maintenance, sometimes you don't need to do much with the regulatory unless there's new staff or SAEs or protocol deviations, right? Because that would require training. This would require SAE follow-up reports. But if there's no, let's say there hasn't been any deviations and any new staff and no SAEs, which is, that's like an easy monitoring visit.
That is that typical though?
Yeah.
Yes,
Could
so
be.
all the focus would be STV and STV.
All of it will be STV. Now you still have to comment on these sections of your report.
Yeah, but I mean,
No
the
SAEs.
thing is, no, just say no. Or
No new regulatory
give a-
documents.
an up-to-date status. And
That's right. And then all your energy can be spent on this and on investigation on product. What you learned with Monica. Accountability. IP accountability. Now it gets challenging when you do have all of these things to do and talk to the PI, right?
Yep.
You always have to talk to the PI, whether it's an easy visit or
because
complex.
okay, at this point, when I go for the to start with the site selection visit, do they get sent a letter, right?
You send the letter, yeah.
Okay.
Follow-up letter before every one of these visits. Sorry,
No, this is
confirmation letter.
confirmation letter because you sent them.
Yes, confirmation letter.
This is
before-
after they have already filled out that what's that form called?
Feasibility
survey.
Yes,
Okay, so we're considering them, right?
yes,
So I need to inform them that on so day I'll be coming, blah blah blah.
yes,
And
confirmation
I'll be
letter.
meeting, I'd like to meet with the
Yes.
PI and other members of staff. And blah, blah,
Yes,
blah.
confirmation letter before
Okay,
every
before-
monitor visit.
Okay.
Report,
And of course, I'd expect to hear back from them to say, hey, okay, that date works for us.
well,
Right.
what you'll really do is you're gonna email the site and say, I plan on coming October 26th. Is this date okay with you at 9 a.m.?
Okay. And if not, they'll let me know.
If not, they'll say, no,
so
come
we'll
this
just have to
date.
find a time
And if that works for you, when you find a date that works for both,
Okay.
then you send the confirmation letter.
Okay.
Okay? Then you do the visit.
Is the letter usually sent in the mail?
No, it's emailed. It
It's
used
emailed
to
as
be
well.
sent in the mail, now it's emailed.
Emailed, okay.
Yeah.
So just print off a copy for their records.
Yeah, so confirmation letter. Well, first you schedule it.
Yeah.
That's good, we're really breaking it down. Schedule it, then the official confirmation letter, then the actual visit, then the report, then the report revisions, and finalization, and then the follow-up letter. For every monitor visit, it's going to be the same thing. Every monitor visit's different, but the process is the same. Same thing with the SAV. Schedule, then the confirmation letter, then the visit, then the report, then the revisions until it's finalized, and then the follow-up letter. Then you're done. That's a completed visit. Takes about a week for this, 2 weeks for this whole process. For all of them. But really where it gets tricky, these are always the same. SSV, SIV, you pretty much do the same thing every single time. The IMVs are where there's a lot of variability based on what's going on. That particular site, remember what we talked about yesterday with their risk profile?
Yeah.
A lot of studies are switching to risk-based monitoring. So you may not treat every site the same from a CRA's perspective. The emphasis may be on different things. Okay? Don't forget training if needed. Amendments, right? If there's an amendment, that also is going to place a different focus for you too. Protocol amendments, right?
Well, you mentioned that at the top already. Oh,
Yep.
no, that was protocol.
No, that's deviations.
Okay.
It's deviations. And again, if the site's not enrolling, then your focus is going to be on, it's going to be called like a booster visit, which you're encouraging the site to find ways to recruit. Booster visits can sometimes be done by phone.
Okay.
Or let's say the only activity the sites have are screen fillers. You're not going to have much to do on SDV, but you're going to be looking at informed consents.
That's like this one.
Yeah, but you're going to look at informed consents, right?
Yeah.
And you're going to look to make sure why they're being screen filled. Is the site screen filling patients that shouldn't be? Maybe they're not understanding the protocol, right? And then closeout visit is not that complex. I've done many of these closeout visits as a site. I've never done one as a CRA, so I don't know if I could talk too much about it from the CRA's perspective.
Okay.
But
So when you worked at the CRA, you never got.
I haven't done a closeout yet. I will do one on the project I'm on.
Okay.
But they're simple. I mean, essentially, you're doing final IP reconciliation. You're closing out all SAEs. You're ensuring that all SUSARs are filed and signed in the reg binder. You're putting an end date for everyone on the delegation log. Delegation of authorities or delegation of duties log. Same thing. End dates. You are seeing if the site will destroy the IP or if the sponsor wants it back. Okay. Depends. Some sponsors want the sites to destroy the IP. Other sponsors want it back. You may have to ship them back.
Delegation log for duties, and what was the first one again?
Delegation of authorities log or delegation of duties. It's the same thing. They're just synonyms. Okay. What else do you do to close out? Make sure all queries are finalized in the EDC. And that the PI signs the EDC page for every subject. Okay. PI closing off. And then finding out where the site will archive their study documents. And for how long per sponsor requirements. Every sponsor requires a different time period for storing and archiving study documents, including the source and the regulatory. As we move to eReg and eSource, archiving is going to become a lot easier because it's going to be done in the cloud. Right now, it's paper. They're all done with Iron Mountain. That's a common vendor. I'm sure you work with them, right? They're big. Iron Mountain. That is it.
What do they do?
That's breaking down every monitoring visit. These are archiving vendors. They archive the source and the regulatory documents. So when the study's over, the site is responsible for all these documents. Because remember, the FDA, they don't audit right away.
Oh, I know.
They audit like 5 years later.
Yeah.
So the documents need to be kept by the site somewhere. Okay? So this is what the closeout visit report will emphasize. These things. You don't really care anymore about SDV. You don't really care anymore about their risk profile. You don't care about enrollment. You don't care about new staff. Everyone's putting an end date. Right? You are looking to see if all amendments have training logs.
Okay.
Because if any of them have been missed, you need a note to file about the missing training. All deviations should be finalized. Make sure they've been reported to the IRB and the sponsor. And also, IRB closeout. Okay. site needs to send a form to the IRB letting them know they've been closed, the study's closed. At SIV, another thing I forgot to add, IRB approval. Okay, the site needs to have IRB approval to screen. At closeout, the site needs to let the IRB know that they are closed out.
So, you know, when they do, okay, no, that's done by the sponsor company, isn't it? Because the IRB also approves any
Advertisements, yeah.
in terms of recruitment.
Yeah,
So who
advertisements
comes up
can
with
be
the advertisement? It's the sponsor, isn't it?
sponsor, CRO, or sites themselves can all create advertisement,
Okay.
but they all
all
have
have
to
to
get
be
IRB
approved.
approved. Yeah. Sites. Does that deconstruct it for you? All of it?